Experts unearth shocking prophecy of Ezekiel foretelling Israel's most crucial battle ever. Few knew what truly happened that night. In a dimly lit chamber, surrounded by crumbling scrolls and echoes of ancient prayers, a figure cloaked in mystery clutched a weathered parchment. Its contents hinted at a world-shaking vision, one that could alter the course of nations. The prophecy spoke of a time not far off, where Israel would face its greatest challenge, yet a battle that would resonate through the ages. Set against the backdrop of a turbulent land, the times were fraught with peril. Jerusalem, a city steeped in history, stood proud yet vulnerable. Its walls bore witness to countless conflicts, a tapestry woven with blood and faith. The spiritual weight of the prophecy hung heavy in the air, electrifying the hearts of those who dared listen. But questions swirled like dust in the wind. Was this merely a cryptic warning or a divine promise wrapped in mystery? As the figure rolled up the scroll, tremors rippled through the crowd gathered outside. Whispered fears danced amongst them. Could it be true? Are we destined for war? Tension pulsed through their veins as if the very ground quaked beneath their feet. Every glance was loaded with urgency. Every breath felt heavy with unspoken dread. They sensed the air thickening with unease. Visions of chaos flickered in their minds, visions of families torn apart, of a land soaked in sorrow. From the shadows emerged an elder, his face lined with wisdom and worry. "We must prepare," he urged. But how? The prophecies were vague, filled with metaphors and layers of meaning, leaving them at the crossroads of panic and hope. Muffled gasps echoed. Murmurs of disbelief twisted through the throng. Were they brave enough to believe? Could they conjure faith amidst the chaos brewing on the horizon? The scroll hinted at unexplainable miracles to come, glimpses of divine intervention that would bewilder even the staunchest skeptics. A voice cried out, "What if we are not alone?" Doubts and revelations danced in limbo. An invisible thread tethered them to the ancient promise. Hearts raced as they clung to fragments of hope buried under the weight of fear. As the night deepened, darkness stretched out like a shroud, swallowing their prayers and dreams whole. A single question loomed above all else. What lies in wait for Israel? The air hummed with uncertainty, balancing precariously between dread and possibility. Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the early hours of dawn, the remnants of the night hung heavy like a damp cloak over Jerusalem. As the first light broke across the horizon, a softer glow illuminated the crumbling stones of the sacred city, revealing the wear etched upon its face through time. The fervor of the previous night still buzzed in the air, and it breathed life into shadows that danced through the streets. Gathered within the sacred walls, a diverse assembly of the faithful clung together, their faces a tapestry of faith, doubt, and sheer determination. They formed a circle, hands clasped tightly, as if seeking strength not only from one another, but from the heavens themselves. The elder, burdened with responsibility, recounted the prophecy once more, his voice quaking yet resolute. In days to come, he spoke, his eyes closed as if he could see beyond the veil of time. The land shall be tested as gold in a refining fire. Nations shall rise against us, but he who watches from above shall not forsake his people. Each word sank deep into the hearts of those present, igniting flickers of courage even in the most fearful spirits. It was then that a young woman, her countenance radiant yet unyielded, stepped forward. "Elder," she said, her voice steady, "what does it mean for us that we are chosen to endure such trials? If divinely promised protection lies ahead, why do we face uncertainty?" Her question lingered in the air, an echo that resonated with the inner turmoil of every soul present. The elder regarded her, a spark of admiration in his eyes. "Child, it is in our struggle that the truth is unveiled. Trials may bewilder us, but they also prepare us. We must embrace the unknown with hearts aflame in faith. In the dim light, soft murmurs arose as the people exchanged glances of contemplation. The uncertainty of the future pressed against them like a storm, yet they hungered for clarity amidst the fog. Families feared for their loved ones. Merchants worried about their trade. Mothers envisioned their children growing up in strife, and fathers felt the weight of protection heavily upon their shoulders. Suddenly, an elderly man, known as one who had wandered far on many journeys, raised his hand. I have seen other nations who have taken up arms. They believe in their might, yet they forget the power of unity and faith. Against such forces, our greatest weapon may not be swords and shields, but our unwavering belief in the unseen. A hush swept across the gathering, and within that silence, a question hung like a ripe fruit ripe for revelation or heartbreaking truth. What unseen forces were at play in their lives? And could faith alone be the strongest armor in the face of impending conflict? Thus, they stood, wrapped in the delicate threads of uncertainty, spirits ignited by hope but tethered by the reality of their fears. The day stretched ahead, alive with possibility and riddled with the shadows of doubt as they pondered what lay behind the curtains of fate. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the elderess voice rang out once more, "Let us prepare ourselves, for the battle is both within and without." But what means to be truly prepared, if the heart wavers? And in that moment of suspension, the people of Jerusalem were left with one lingering truth: could the true battle begin within? And how might that internal struggle shape the conclusion of the conflict that loomed ever closer? As the sun journeyed across the sky and bright light bathed the city, the assembly began to disperse, but the questions seated in their hearts refused to budge. The elder remained seated upon a worn stone, his gaze fixed upon the horizon where distant hills hugged the earth like steadfast guardians. With his mind heavy with the shared burdens of his flock, he pondered whether the words spoken that morning would be enough to sustain them. The young woman who had spoken earlier lingered near him, her brow furrowed with contemplation. "Elder," she ventured, "if our battles are within, how do we combat our fears when faced with such despair?" The elder turned to her, the sunlight illuminating the silver streaks in his beard. "Fear is a shadow," he replied thoughtfully. "It darkens our surroundings and whispers lies that insulate us from both the truth and the light. Yet it is also a teacher." She nodded slowly, absorbing his words. "A teacher, you say? How do we learn from a teacher that brings with it such pain? How can we call on the light in times of shadows?" Outside the sacred walls, the streets of Jerusalem breathed life anew. Children scampered with laughter, their vibrant energy dancing through the air. Merchants exchanged goods, and villagers spoke in lively conversations. Everything seemed vibrant, yet an invisible tension cradled the realm, cloaked beneath the apparent bustle. Gradually, a small group gathered again around the elder, drawn to his quiet wisdom. A heavy-set man approached with a furrowed brow, the lines of his face revealing deep wells of worry. "Elder, I am but a humble farmer. How does one like me prepare for such spiritual warfare? My plow does not wield swords, and my hands know only toil." "Your toil is a weapon in its own right," the elder replied, looking into the man's eyes with earnestness. "In every row you plant, in every seed you sow, you uphold a legacy. And it is through your labor that life and sustenance are born. The spirit endures, but the heart must also be nurtured." As he spoke, the elder's voice took on a tone tinged with urgency. "When nations rise against us, it will not only be the strength of might that sways the balance, but the strength of our bonds, the unity of families, of friends, of beliefs. Let not your heart grow weary as you labor. Every act of love is part of a greater tapestry." The young woman, still listening from a distance, felt a flicker of understanding ignite within her. But can unity alone shield us from the tempest? What if despair seeps through the cracks? The elder closed his eyes, reflecting on the generations that had faced turmoil before them. Despair and hope often dance together. They are like the two sides of a coin. One cannot exist without the other. Yet, it is our choice how we hold that coin, whether we clasp it in fear or offer it in faith. Therein lies the heart of the battle. The group fell into silence, each lost in their own turmoil and reflections. Just then, a distant chorus of shouts broke through the stillness, echoing through the streets a proclamation of urgent tidings. The townsfolk turned toward the sound, hearts racing as an unseen dread began to creep in. The elder stood with renewed purpose. It seems the time for preparation is upon us. We must gather our courage and find our strength in one another before the storm approaches. As the crowd surged towards the source of the commotion, an unshakable question hung in the air: would their unity prove stronger than the trials awaiting them, or were they merely threads on the verge of fraying? In this moment of precarious tension, what deeper awareness awaited them as they faced the horizon of fate? The elder's words, resembling a tapestry woven with hope and warnings, hung heavy in the air as the crowd began to move toward the source of the outcry. An invisible thread of uncertainty pulled at each heart, yet amid the tension, there lingered a flicker of resolve. As they arrived at the center of the city, it became clear that the shouts originated from a gathering of men, their garments dusted with the grime of the road. They stood atop crates, their faces flushed with urgency. "People of Jerusalem, heed our message," one of them cried. "A great army marches forth. They seek to swallow our land and sever our spirit." The mention of an approaching army wrapped itself around the citizens, igniting a fire of fear within their hearts. Whispers of doubt washed over the crowd like waves, each individual caught in their own tempest: the humble farmer, the contemplative young woman, the elderly widow, all wrestling with the shadow cast by the foreboding news. Yet amidst the rising tide of trepidation, the elder stepped forward, raising a hand to signify tranquility. He met the fearful gazes with a steadiness that transcended the chaos, grounding himself in a deeper truth. "Do not let fear rob you of your voice," he called out, his voice steady. "Let us not dwell solely on the might of our adversaries, but remember the strength inherent in our unity." A murmur rippled through the crowd as the men on the crates continued to declare the coming danger. "They approach bearing swords and shields, and they carry the intent to conquer," their leader proclaimed passionately. "But we carry something more potent, the will to defend what is sacred, what is ours." "Your words echo courage," the elder replied, leaning into the fervor ignited by the speaker. "But tell us, what will you do with that courage when despair seeks to bind your hearts? Will it be enough?" The men hesitated, their conviction flickering as the gravity of their words intermingled with the sudden pressure of reality. "We will call upon our warriors. We will prepare our homes and our families," one shouted, though uncertainty tinged his voice. "But preparation can be complex," the elder cautioned. "True strength is found not only in arms but in spirit. As the roots intertwine beneath the surface, so must we unite. We must nurture bonds not only of blood but of spirit, feeding each other's courage even as darkness encroaches." The young woman, standing on the periphery, felt a stirring within her heart. "Elder," she said, her voice rising above the rising excitement and alarm, "how do we nourish those bonds? What tangible steps can we take in this perilous time to become the fortress that safeguards our souls?" The elder's gaze drifted toward the horizon, contemplating the unseen waves of fate unfurling before them. "We gather. We share stories of our ancestors. We remember our shared victories over despair. We lift each other's burdens, hear each other's fears. For only through understanding can we forge shields against the looming shadows." As he spoke, doubt mingled with the air, and some in the crowd voiced their concerns. "But what if our efforts falter? What if we remain as mere whispers in the storm?" Then, the elder replied, a soft strength emanating from him, "We will become echoes of faith. Each whisper that rises in love defies the shadow and illuminates the path forward." There was quiet now, the townsfolk reflecting on his words. Yet as the sun descended, casting long shadows over Jerusalem, the question loomed larger. Would the power of shared stories and collective strength be enough to face the encroaching storm, or would they crumble as the darkness closed in? In this moment of uncertainty, how could they weave their hearts together into a tapestry resilient enough to withstand the trials to come? As the crowd mulled over the elder's words, an uneasy silence settled upon them, broken only by the rustling of leaves and distant echoes from the market square. The sun, now a fiery orb on the edge of the horizon, cast a warm glow on the tattered banners that hung from the city walls, a reminder of victories once celebrated, but also of the fragility of their proud legacy. From within the throng emerged an aged scribe, bead-like sweat glistening on his wrinkled brow. "Elder," he began, his voice shaky yet poignant, "I have penned the histories, the accounts of battles fought and won. But I fear it may be my last tale to tell should the storm break upon us." The elder regarded the scribe with a deep empathy. "Every tale holds power, dear friend. But more than words on parchment, we require the breath of courage and the heartbeat of faith. It is not enough to recount the past. We must become the authors of our future." Encouraged, the scribe continued, "But there are prophecies written by our forefathers. Ezekiel has spoken of a great conflict. He foretold of a time when the land would be torn asunder, yet from ashes a new creation would rise. As the winds of change stir, do we not face that very moment?" A ripple of intrigue coursed through the people. As they recalled the depth of Ezekiel's visions, amidst destruction lay the promise of renewal. The younger ones looked to the elder, seeking guidance on how to fathom such enigmatic proclamations. How could they interpret a message so profound in this moment of dire urgency? "Indeed, the words of Ezekiel possess a weight," the elder said thoughtfully. "But understand this, prophecies do not bind our fates. They illuminate possibilities. Each of us holds the quill to our destiny. What will you write when faced with this challenge?" An exchange of glances spread across the crowd, a flicker of resolve kindling the hearts of those who previously swayed in fear. "Can our actions alter the narrative?" a burly farmer questioned. "Can we, mere mortals, shape the unfolding of prophecy?" "Yes," exclaimed the young woman again, her voice steady, sounding as a beacon anew. "We can choose courage over despair. We can choose unity over division." With a flicker of satisfaction, the elder nodded. "Rightly spoken. But remember, transformation begins within. When waves of calamity rise, ask yourself, what seed of hope can you nurture? How can you become the embodiment of the renewal Ezekiel envisioned?" "They are fragments," another voice chimed in, an elderly widow with weary eyes. "Our small acts of love, kindness, every moment we share can echo beyond the horizon, crafting a future unviewed." In this room, gathered beneath the gaze of heaven, the elder pressed on, lay the raw materials to construct our fortress. Can you not feel the stirring energy? A shared heartbeat, pumping life into the potential of our dreams. As the sun dipped below the horizon, uncertainty still lingered, but it started to mingle with an unexpected thread of hope. The flickering torches around them reflected the gently rising tensions within. The path ahead remained obscured. The army could still come, their intentions hidden in the cloak of night. "Tell me, dear friends," the elder pondered aloud as shadows stretched long into the gathering dusk, "when the hour comes for you to stand firm, what story will you tell of your courage? And will it be enough to stand against the prophecy that looms?" In that moment, the essence of their fate lay poised on the edge of resolve, an unwritten chapter yet to unfold. Would their choices echo with the strength of the past? Or would they succumb to the weight of uncertainty as the night deepened around them? The twilight deepened, and the air hung heavy with the scent of impending rain. As the people contemplated the elder's words, their thoughts were a maze of questions and fears, a feeling that the quiet of the evening concealed the tremors of a coming storm, both literal and metaphorical. The scribe, ever the observer, noted this shift in atmosphere and felt a deep yearning to understand the fabric of their shared existence in that moment. "Elder," he ventured tentatively, "if we are to be the authors of our fate, then what of the unwritten histories of those who came before us? What stories circle like shadows, yearning for the light? Are they not part of our pen as well?" The elder turned his gaze toward the dimming horizon, where the last vestiges of daylight faded. "Indeed, the histories intertwine with our narrative. The past holds whispers that guide, and though we may wish to write anew, we must not disregard the echoes lingering in the silence. Each generation carries the seeds of wisdom rooted in earlier struggles, In joy's unknown flickers of divinity are embedded within our shared tales. As we seek the future, let us also learn from the echoes of our forebears. A boy in the crowd, barely old enough to grasp the full weight of their talk, raised a hand timidly. What if we fail? What if our courage flees before the darkness? Can hope survive amidst the ashes of ruin? The elder smiled gently, as if expecting this innocent query. Ah, the fear of failure is the cloak we all wear. But consider this, hope is not the absence of fear. Rather, it is the flame ignited in spite of it. Each act of bravery, no matter how small, can serve as a tribute to resilience. Let fear echo within, but let it not govern your heart. A murmuring began to ripple through the crowd. The realization that they were not alone in their uncertainties brought a quiet comfort. Faces once shadowed by doubt began to brighten, as thoughts of collective strength swelled in their shared resolve. The young woman who had spoken earlier, emboldened, stepped forward. Then let us unite. If we are to face a storm, let us build our shelter together. We can draw upon the stories of our elders. Let their past battles galvanize us. For is it not said that where two or more gather in the spirit of purpose, the divine presence draws near? The elder nodded in agreement. Yes, let our memories weave the tapestry of our courage together. We are not mere players cast into isolation. We are strands of a greater design. Let us share the burdens of our fears and the weight of this prophecy. Let every voice rise as an anthem, transcending doubt and forging an unbreakable bond. As the gathering began to grasp the depth of their unity, a gust of wind swept through the clearing, causing the torches to flicker wildly, momentarily casting a dance of shadows against the walls. The earth seemed to sigh as nature echoed their inner tremors, connecting their hearts with the pulse of creation itself. Yet amid this newfound strength dwelled an unsettling thought in the elder's heart. But as the prophecies reveal, there shall also be trials. The path of hope often winds through the valley of despair. Just as the rains must come to nurture growth, so shall we each be tested. Are we prepared to face our truths, the shadows lurking deep within our souls? An uneasy silence fell over the crowd. Though they had united in spirit, the fear of facing the unknown, of understanding what lay in their own hearts, brought a collective stillness. What will you choose in the face of your fears? The elder asked softly, his voice echoing through their troubled embraces. Will you turn away from the shadows, or will you gather them close and transform every darkness into a testament of light? As we journey toward the dawn of our destiny, how will you navigate the stories preserved in your heart? The evening dimmed, but a spark flickered in each mind, an echo of determination mingling with uncertainty. The answers remained just out of reach, waiting to illuminate the path ahead. As night descended, the gathering grew reflective, their breaths in synchrony with the gentle rhythm of the wind. The elder's words, heavy yet illuminating, lingered in the charged air, urging each individual to simmer in their thoughts. However, the impending storm hovered not just in the skies but in their hearts and the dimness. A man, who had remained quiet through the discourse, emerged from the crowd. His face was lined with experiences that spoke of struggle, yet his voice carried a quiet intensity. Elder, he began, in hearing your words of unity and resilience, I find myself haunted by what feels like an indelible mark of despair. I have seen our kin lose hope amidst adversities that seemed insurmountable. How do we turn the cycle of despair into something that truly nourishes? For I fear that our histories may also be wrought with shadows that bind us. The elder regarded him with understanding, sensing the weight of his struggles. Indeed, brother, despair is an insistent companion that we must acknowledge. Yet remember the seasons of nature. Each year brings the death of vegetation, but from that death emerges the vibrance of new life. Our lineage too can emerge from trials, if we so choose to recognize them as part of our journey rather than sums of our failures. Tension eased as the crowd murmured in thoughtful agreement, a flicker of hope sparking anew. But curiosity danced in many eyes, seeking deeper understanding. What does this transformation require? Asked an elderly woman, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a woven basket, worn with time. Can the stories we hold truly be the soil from which we draw our strength? Yes, replied the elder, but transformation requires labor and intention. We must be willing to face our past openly to see the wounds that linger and the lessons that hide within our wounds. It is in our stories, even the painful ones, that we find the strength to cultivate change. Yet, remember, the act of growth can be slow and fraught with uncertainty. We may not see the fruits of our labor immediately. The air thickened again as a rumble echoed in the distance. The earth itself seemed to pulse with the shared energy of the crowd's vulnerability. It awakened a spirit of curiosity among the people. What are these lessons? A young woman asked, her voice sharpened by eagerness. What do we need to confront in our stories to evoke change? The elder paused, his gaze drifting toward the heavens now festooned with stars struggling to break free of the darkness. The lessons are many. They lay within our grief, our misunderstandings, our betrayals, and even our joys forgotten. Each choice we make, each word we utter, etches into the grand narrative being woven. Yet sometimes it is easier to veil our fears instead of unraveling them. To grow, we must embrace both the light and the dark, together. As he spoke, a bolt of lightning sliced through the clouds, illuminating faces filled with a myriad of emotions: hope, fear, determination. The irony of their predicament struck them as deeply as the thunder, a visceral reminder that their path was fraught with choices yet to be made and storms yet to face. But elder, interrupted a small voice from deep in the crowd, whose stories should we learn from first? And how do we choose which shadows to embrace? The elder smiled knowingly, as if he had anticipated this question all along. Each person carries pieces of destinies unknowingly intertwined. Begin with those closest to you, those who have walked beside you through trials and triumphs. With each sharing, the fracture only gives way to the healing. This is how we face our fears together. But remember, the essence of this journey is not merely to seek the light but to be willing to navigate the dark alongside one another. Nods of recognition rippled through the assembly. Yet, amidst the gathering promise lay an unresolved tension, a lingering uncertainty of what truly lay ahead. The wind picked up, stirring the air, and the faint drizzle began to mingle with the wisdom imparted that evening. As the first drops touched earth, a reflection emerged within every heart. If transformation demands the confrontation of our histories, what shadows remain unacknowledged in our souls, waiting for our courage to summon them into light? And in the heart of the storm, would they unite in enough strength to wield their darkness as a beacon of hope? As the first droplets of rain began to fall, the expectant crowd reveled in the medicinal scent of wet earth, mingled with the weight of uncertainty still hanging in the air. The elder continued to gaze upward, his expression contemplative. The night sky, rife with conflict between light and dark, mirrored their own struggles, a canvas of their lives painted with hope and despair in equal measure. Gather in closer, the elder called, his voice steady amid the rumble of impending chaos. The assembly shifted, forming a tighter circle illuminated by flickering torchlight. As you ponder your own stories, understand that the narratives of our ancestors are also alive. They pulse beneath the surface of our own spirits. His words swirled around them like whispers caught in the breeze. In the tales of ancient days, we find the threads of our destiny woven together. Each generation carries forward both the burdens and triumphs of those who walked before us. What we choose to acknowledge will shape the essence of our being and the future we forge. From the bravest hearts, several began to share their own historical trials. A father's voice trembled as he recounted the exile from their homeland, a chasm that tore families and communities apart. We have lost much, he confessed. Yet, I feel a spark of resolve within me, knowing that our ancestors faced such trials with fortitude. Can we too be restored? An elder man, who had witnessed both abundance and tumult, nodded solemnly. Yes, my brother, he added. In that darkness lies the key to our strength. The stories of our people who wandered in the wilderness teach us that even amidst desolation, we must seek the promise. Our faith is not merely an artifact. It is a living, breathing thing that demands to be nurtured and defended. As more voices joined, sharing parables of forgiveness, struggle, and hope. A tapestry of shared experience blossomed before them, bridging generations. The heartfelt stories stoked a fire of solidarity, drawing everyone in closer, even as the storm grumbled overhead, a reminder of the tumult that often surrounds their journeys. Yet beneath the merging of tales, one plea stood out against the rest, uttered softly by a young girl whose innocence shone like a lighthouse amidst the encroaching fog. Elder, she raised her hand hesitantly. How do we keep our stories alive against such great winds of despair and loss? How do we ensure that we do not forget their teachings? The elder regarded her with kind eyes. The answer, dear child, lies within you. Stories flourish when they are shared, retold, and treasured. You see, storytelling is a sacred act. It breathes life into our memories. To sustain our collective spirit, we must speak them aloud, pass them to one another, unearthing forgotten lessons as we progress. We must teach the next generation to envelop their hearts in these stories, to recognize the patterns that bind us as one people. A crack of thunder reverberated, emphasizing the gravity of his words. The light above dimmed until the storm threatened to engulf them, but the warmth of their assembly kept fear at bay. It became fervently clear to many if they did not voice their stories, the lessons would remain buried, much like seeds that do not sprout if hidden beneath layers of earth. Yet still uncertainty loomed. Would the storm grant them the courage to emerge resilient once again? Would they be willing to bear their wounds, acknowledging what was carefully concealed beneath layers of pride and pain? As the woman with the basket peered into the depths of her experiences, she pondered. What lost stories, shielded by generations of silence, trembled at the brink of visibility, desperate to guide them through rising waters of doubt? With hearts wide open in fellowship, they decided to embrace their duty of remembrance together. What must we do, elders? Questioned a young man, his voice steady with determination. If we rise up, ready to face our shadows. The elder smiled, but his eyes bore a flicker of concern as he replied, perhaps that is not for me to answer. Rather, as you step into this unknown, ask yourselves, will we dare to dance upon the precipice of our fears to shape a new story of unity, one steeped in understanding and forged in the fires of collaboration? As the elder's words hung in the air, a thunderclap echoed across the tumultuous skies, shaking the hearts of those gathered. Each soul felt a tremor ripple through their spirit, as if the heavens themselves were alerting them to the significance of this moment. Amidst the clamor of raindrops beginning to batter against the earth, each story shared stoked a fire within, a fire that dared to confront the deep-rooted fears nestled in their hearts. A figure emerged from the back of the assembly, cloaked in the shadows. It was Miriam, a woman of wisdom, her eyes sparkling as if they held the wisdom of the ages. She stepped forward, and the gathering fell silent in respect. Elders, she addressed them, her voice a gentle breeze. What if the stories we tell are not just echoes of the past? What if they hold a key to prophecies yet to unfold, prophecies that intertwine our paths with that of our forebears? The elder nodded slowly, intrigued. Speak, Miriam, he urged, sensing the stirring of something profound within her words. What prophecies do you envision? Standing straight and with conviction, Miriam continued, prophecies are the bones of our histories. They offer guidance wrapped in symbolic narratives. Ezekiel spoke of dry bones that would rise again, of a valley that held not just despair but the promise of resurrection. But to understand that prophecy, we must first acknowledge our own valleys, those dark places within where fear has taken root. The young girl, still aglow with wonder, glanced up at Miriam, her curiosity ignited. Do you believe we, too, are like those dry bones? Can we arise in our truth, even now, as the storm threatens? Miriam smiled gently at the girl's innocence. Ah, child, each of us bears the weight of our own valleys. Yet, it is in this very moment we stand on the threshold of our resurrection. As we share our stories, we weave the fabric of hope stronger, creating a tapestry that will sustain the generations that follow. Another crack of thunder punctuated her insight, causing some to flinch, yet in that fear, the assembly felt an undercurrent of resolve. They held their collective breaths, each wondering if they could summon the courage to lift their voices as one, to articulate the dreams and fears that tightly clutched their hearts. An older woman spoke up, her voice driven by the depth of her years. In my time I have seen many storms. With each passing tempest, I have witnessed the resilience of our people, driven by the power of their stories. To echo the wisdom of our ancestors is to breathe life into the future. Yet amidst this budding hope, uncertainty flickered like the dying embers of a fire, casting shadows on their path forward. Will these collective stories hold the strength to mold a new destiny? Gathered in this moment of communion, would they find a way to face the tempests that swept across both the sky and within their hearts? As droplets swirled and danced in their shared circle, the thought struck. What would it mean to acknowledge our fears while simultaneously daring to believe we might overcome them together? Would the rain wash away their doubts or magnify them, drawing forth a reality they might rather avoid? Engulfed in the stillness before the storm's fury exploded around them, the assembly stood on the brink of transformation, each member contemplating the stories that both burdened and emboldened them. Would they allow the rain to drown their dreams, or would they rise with it into something greater than they ever imagined? In this throbbing silence, a question lingered. What do we truly fear losing when we gather our stories and step forth beyond the precipice? As the storm unleashed its fury, the heavens wept upon the land, and the city of Jerusalem seemed to tremble under the weight of both rain and prophecy. Yet, amid the tempest, the hearts of the gathered grew resolute. They had formed a fragile sanctuary, woven together by stories, hopes, and fears, steadfast against the chaos that raged outside. In the depths of that stormy night, lightning illuminated their faces one by one, like divine fingerprints marking them as vessels of something greater. The elder felt a powerful wave of emotion wash over him as he surveyed the crowd, all ages, all walks of life, united under the shared burden of their looming fate. He could sense the transformation taking place. Stories of despair, once knotted deep within, began to unravel, revealing new possibilities, a tapestry of courage and hope. Let us not shy away from what the storm represents, the elder called to the assembly, his voice rising above the din. For it is in this tumult that we uncover the depths within ourselves. The rains shall not drown our spirits. Rather, they nourish the seeds of resilience that lie dormant among us. As fear flickered like shadows, the young girl who had asked the elder about remembering stories stepped forward, her voice steady as she faced the tempest. Let us sing. Let our voices rise above the thunder, for within our song lies the collective strength of our ancestors, the echoes of those who bore witness to trials far greater than our own. Spurred by her courage, the gathering began to hum tentatively at first, then swelling into a harmonious melody that reverberated through the night. Each note intertwined with the rhythm of rain, forming a sacred bond that transcended fear. As they sang, the elder felt the air shift. An energy blossomed, a collective spirit of unity infused with faith. Voices wove tales of battles faced, of love enduring, and of hope reborn on the other side of despair. They sang not just for themselves but for the countless souls whose stories remained silent, echoes longing to be heard in the winds of time. As the storm raged on, the people looked to the elder, who raised his arms, channeling the passion of their resistance. Remember, our fight is not only against the storm outside but also the tempests within. Each moment we stand together, unafraid to voice our fears and dreams, we dismantle the barriers that threaten to divide us. We transform the whispers of doubt into an anthem of strength. And it was during this moment, the crescendo of their unity, that the skies suddenly broke open in a flash of brilliance. A radiant light pierced through the clouds, illuminating the city as if heaven itself was bearing witness to their resolve. The silence that followed was deafening, a stillness that cradled their hopes. They realized that this very illumination mirrored the truth within, that they were never alone, that the divine presence walked among them, linked by the stories they shared. Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows at the edge of the gathering, the cloaked figure from the beginning, the one who had first unveiled Ezekiel's prophecy. With an ethereal glow, he stepped forward, and the crowd gasped, recognizing the prophet himself, a figure that had been lost in the depths of history, yet now stood before them in a living testament to faith as power. People of Jerusalem, Ezekiel spoke, his voice a rich tapestry of wisdom and reverence. You, amidst turmoil and uncertainty, have awakened the spirit that binds generations past to the present. Each of your voices sings not only of survival but of revival, of rebirth from the ashes of despair. He looked into their eyes, those shining with tears and determination. Understand this. The storms of life, fraught with challenges, will come, but what will define you is how you rise together in the wake of fury. Each act of courage, each shared story, spins threads that weave an unbreakable fabric of community, one that carries the weight of history and the promise of a brighter future. The crowd erupted in a wave of emotion, shouts of wonder, cries of relief, and murmurs of profound recognition. They understood then that their internal struggles and external battles were sacred transformations. In their unity, they became more potent than the storms that threatened to swallow them whole. As the last echoes of the storm faded and tranquility brushed against the horizon, the elder took a deep breath, allowing the atmosphere to calm. And as the rain nourishes the earth, so shall our courage nourish the spirit of this land. Let the waters remind us that life, too, is a cycle of endings and beginnings. May we emerge not just intact but transformed. Over the next days, as sunlight kissed the drenched earth, the people began to gather, sharing their stories with renewed fervor. They forged deeper connections, learned from one another, and began crafting a legacy that blended the ancient with the modern, a commitment to guard their truths and uplift the collective spirit of hope. In time, Jerusalem would face many challenges. Yet the flame kindled in that stormy night served as their guiding star, a beacon illuminating the path ahead, one where fear transformed into faith, and lost stories became foundations for a renewed nation. For decades to come, when tales of that fateful night were recounted, they would speak not merely of an impending battle, but of an awakening, a divine revelation that revealed the unfathomable strength found in unity, storytelling, and the timeless truth that we are never alone in our struggles. Each heart is a vessel, holding within it the power to shape destinies, as long as we dare to raise our voices in the face of the storm. And thus, the world learned that true battles are waged not just on fields of conflict but in the sanctuaries of our hearts, where every story shared can awaken a lost hope, where every note sung amidst the storm can become an unyielding force against despair, echoing through eternity as a testament to faith's unbreakable promise.